Run your fingers through your hair right now. Go on, actually do it. Feel how it sits against your scalp this very second, whether it's soft and full or whether, if you're honest with yourself, it feels a little thinner than it used to, a little quieter, a little less alive than the hair you remember having 10 or 15 years ago. And if a style that looked full and bouncy at 7 in the morning has completely given up by 9, flattened and lifeless no matter how much time you spent on it, I want you to know something important before we go any further. You've probably told yourself this is simply what happens as hair ages, that thinning is just something you quietly accept and live with, the same way you accept a few more lines around your eyes or a little less bounce in your step some mornings. But here is what nobody has actually sat you down and told you clearly. Your hair likely is not as thin as it looks in that mirror this morning. There is a very real chance that you are styling against your hair instead of with it, using habits that made complete sense on the thicker hair you had decades ago, but are now quietly working against the finer hair that actually sits on your head today. And here's something that might surprise you even more. Of the 7 habits we are about to walk through together today, at least one of them is so deeply built into your daily routine, so automatic and unquestioned, that almost every single woman over 60 watching this video right now is doing it without ever once suspecting it's the exact reason her volume quietly disappears before lunchtime every single day like clockwork. I want to be completely upfront with you about what this video is and what it isn't. I'm not going to tell you to buy expensive volumizing shampoos with ingredients you can't pronounce. I'm not going to suggest costly extensions, salon treatments, or some miracle serum that costs more than your monthly grocery bill. Instead, over the next half hour, we are going to walk slowly and thoroughly through 7 small shifts, most of which take no extra time at all, that work with the exact hair you have right now today, as it actually is, not as some advertisement wishes it was. Stay with me for the whole journey today, because we're not just covering the 7 secrets quickly and moving on. We're going deep into the why behind each one, the small science of what's actually happening on your scalp and along each strand, so that by the end, you're not just following steps blindly, you actually understand your own hair well enough to keep making smart decisions about it long after this video ends. And secret number 5, when we get there, is the one that changes everything, and it has absolutely nothing to do with any product currently sitting in your bathroom cabinet. Welcome back to Elegant Beyond 60, the channel where we prove week after week that looking beautiful after 60 was never about spending more money. It was always about knowing more information, the kind nobody bothers to teach us until we go looking for it ourselves, usually after years of quietly wondering why something that used to work for us simply doesn't anymore. If you're new here, hello truly. I'm so glad you found your way to us today. This channel exists for exactly one reason: to hand you the kind of practical, honest, no-fuss advice that respects both your intelligence and your budget. We don't believe you need to spend a fortune to look and feel wonderful at this stage of life. We believe you need the right information, explained clearly, without any of the confusing jargon the beauty industry loves to hide behind. And if you're one of our regulars settling in with your coffee or tea right now, welcome back. You already know exactly how things work around here. We take our time. We don't rush through information just to hit some arbitrary short video length. When a topic deserves real depth like today's does, we give it real depth because you deserve to actually understand your hair, not just memorize 7 bullet points and forget them by next week. Today we're spending real unhurried time on fine hair, specifically, walking through the small everyday styling habits that are quietly flattening your volume rather than building it up, and more importantly, understanding exactly why each of these habits works against you so the knowledge actually sticks. This topic matters so much to me because most of us grew up learning to style thicker, younger hair, often from mothers or magazines decades ago, and nobody ever sat us down to explain that the rules change entirely once our hair texture changes with age. So today, over the next 30 minutes, we're correcting that together thoroughly at a comfortable pace, one simple secret at a time. Before we settle in properly, if you're already sensing that this is going to be a genuinely useful half hour, do me a quick favor and tap that subscribe button right now, before you get absorbed in what's coming and forget. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it genuinely helps this small channel reach more women exactly like you every single week. While your hand is already there, tap the like button too, because it tells me precisely which topics you want more of going forward, and it helps this video reach other women who need to hear exactly what you're about to hear. Alright, get comfortable, maybe grab that drink beside you because we have real ground to cover together. And secret number 1 is probably something you did to your own hair this very morning without giving it a second thought. I want you to start thinking about fine hair a little differently than perhaps you've been taught to your whole life. Fine hair is not broken hair. And it is certainly not hair that has somehow failed you over the years. It's simply hair with a different diameter, a different structure at the strand level, and that means it behaves by an entirely different set of rules than thicker hair does. The overwhelming majority of hair advice out there, in magazines, in salons, even from well-meaning friends, was never actually written with your specific hair type in mind at all. It was written for average hair, or often for hair thicker than average, and none of it accounts for how hair actually changes as estrogen levels shift with age, which is a real measurable reason fine hair often becomes finer over the decades. So let's walk through these 7 secrets together slowly and thoroughly, taking our time with each one, so you understand not just what to do, but exactly why it works, and so you can picture precisely where each one applies to your own morning routine as we go. Secret number 1. Washing with hot water. Let's start in the shower because that's genuinely where volume is won or lost long before you ever pick up a blow dryer. That long, steamy, wonderfully hot shower feels absolutely glorious, and I understand completely why so many of us love it, especially at the end of a long day when it feels like the one truly relaxing ritual we have to ourselves. But here is what's actually happening beneath that lovely warmth. Hot water causes the outer layer of each hair strand, called the cuticle, to lift and open far wider than it would under cooler water. Think of the cuticle like tiny overlapping shingles on a roof. When those shingles lift open, the hair shaft becomes temporarily more porous, more relaxed, and considerably heavier while wet. On thicker hair, this barely matters because there's enough structural mass in each strand to bounce back regardless. But fine hair has less internal structure to begin with, less of what's called the cortex, the inner part of the strand that provides strength and spring. So when fine hair is left to dry after being weighed down and opened up by hot water, it very often dries in whatever position gravity left it in, flat against the scalp, cuticles slightly raised, lacking the spring to lift itself back up. Here's the fix, and I promise it doesn't require sacrificing your relaxing shower ritual entirely. Continue washing with comfortably warm water exactly as you always have. But right at the very end before you step out, switch to a noticeably cool rinse for just the final 30 seconds. That cool water does the opposite of the hot water. It closes those cuticle shingles back down firmly, sealing the strand and helping it hold its shape more effectively as it begins to air dry or as you begin styling. There's a lovely side benefit here too, one many women don't expect. That cool rinse also helps your hair appear shinier. Because closed, smooth cuticles reflect light more evenly than raised, roughened ones. So you're not just setting yourself up for better volume, you're also getting a bit of natural shine as a bonus, at absolutely no extra cost, using water you were already running anyway. Secret number 2. Applying conditioner to your roots. This next habit feels like good, responsible hair care instinct, and that's exactly why it's so widespread, even among women who take real pride in caring for their hair properly. We are taught from a young age that conditioner nourishes and protects, so naturally it feels intuitive, even virtuous, to want to apply it generously everywhere, roots included, just to be thorough and make sure nothing gets missed. But conditioner is specifically formulated to coat and soften the hair shaft, smoothing down that cuticle we just talked about, and adding a fine layer of moisture and lightweight oils along the strand. On fine hair, applying that formula directly onto the roots does precisely what you don't want. It adds weight and a slight coating right at the base, the one section of hair responsible for creating lift, and the section closest to your scalp's own natural oils, which frankly need very little extra help staying moisturized in the first place. Here is the small, simple adjustment that changes the entire outcome. Apply conditioner only from your mid-lengths downward to your ends, the sections that genuinely need that extra moisture because they're older, more exposed to heat styling, more prone to dryness and damage over time. Leave your roots entirely product-free during the conditioning step of your shower. If it helps, imagine drawing an invisible line about 2 or 3 inches down from your scalp, and only conditioning below that line. Your roots will dry lighter, freer, and far more ready to be lifted afterward by whatever styling technique you use, instead of starting the entire day already pressed flat by product that was never actually needed in that particular area to begin with. Many women who make just this one change notice a difference within the very first wash, simply because they were unknowingly sabotaging their own volume every single time they showered. Secret number 3. Blow drying with your head upright. Now let's talk about the blow dryer because this is where a huge amount of daily volume is either created or completely lost, often in the very first 60 seconds of drying. Most of us were originally taught to blow dry standing perfectly upright in front of the mirror, drying our strands in the exact direction they naturally fall downward. It feels efficient, it feels tidy, and honestly it feels completely normal because it's simply what we've always done, likely what our mothers did and their mothers before them. But here's the problem hiding inside that familiar routine. Drying hair downward in the same direction gravity is already actively pulling it, essentially trains the hair to sit flat against the scalp as it dries and cools. Hair actually takes on a semi-permanent shape as it dries under heat, similar to how a hairstyle sets. If it's drying flat, it sets flat, and fine hair, having considerably less natural spring available to fight against that setting, tends to hold on to that flatness stubbornly for the rest of the entire day, no matter what products or tools you use afterward to try correcting it. Try this instead, and I promise it feels a little unusual the first couple of times but becomes completely natural within a week. Flip your head completely upside down. Or if that feels too intense for your neck or back, simply tilt it noticeably to one side instead. Dry your roots specifically in the opposite direction from how they naturally fall, working your fingers through them gently as you go, just for the first few minutes of the overall drying process. Once your roots are mostly dry while sitting in that lifted reverse position, you can flip back upright comfortably and finish drying the rest of your hair and your ends normally, exactly as you always have. Your hair will hold on to that lift throughout the entire day because that lifted position is genuinely what it was trained into while drying under heat, rather than the flat position gravity would have otherwise chosen for it by default. Some women like to add a small round brush at the roots while doing this upside down technique, gently lifting sections as they dry for even more pronounced volume. Though the upside down flip alone makes a noticeable difference even without any additional tools. Secret number 4. Brushing too much too often. We are taught, often from very early childhood, that 100 brush strokes a day equals healthy, shiny, beautiful hair. It's one of those pieces of advice passed down through generations without anyone ever really questioning where it came from or whether it actually still applies to our hair as adults, let alone as mature women with finer hair. Here's what excessive brushing actually does, and it works against volume in 2 very specific ways. First, brushing repeatedly distributes your scalp's natural oils, called sebum, all the way down the entire length of the hair shaft. A small, healthy amount of sebum near the roots is good and normal, but spreading it excessively down the length weighs strands down considerably, making them cling closer together and lie flatter overall. Second, and just as important, brushing smooths the hair completely flat against your head, physically removing the natural texture and slight separation between strands that actually creates the visual appearance of fullness in the first place. Ironically, the very act meant to make hair look nicer is quietly working against the fuller look most of us are actually hoping for. The better approach here is brushing with genuine intention rather than out of pure habit or muscle memory. Brush just enough to properly detangle your hair and prepare it for styling, and then consciously stop there, rather than continuing out of some ingrained sense that more brushing equals more care. If you want to add texture and lift back in after styling, use your fingers instead to gently lift and separate small sections directly at the root and crown, rather than running a brush repeatedly through the entire length. This simple substitution, fingers instead of a brush for that final texturizing step, preserves the natural separation between strands instead of smoothing it away. Less brushing overall, paired with more intentional targeted lifting at the root using just your fingertips, that is really the actual secret quietly hiding behind this particular habit that so many of us never think twice about. Alright, let's pause together here for just a moment, because we're at the halfway point and I want to check in with you properly. If secret number 3 just made you seriously rethink your entire blow-drying routine, comment below right now and tell me honestly, are you flipping your head upside down tomorrow morning? Or are you still feeling a little skeptical about trying it? I genuinely read every single comment on this channel, and it truly does shape what topics we cover next, so your input matters far more than you might think. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now is a wonderful moment to do it, especially since we still have 3 more secrets coming up, including the one I promised you at the very beginning that has almost nothing at all to do with your hair itself, and honestly might be the most surprising one in this entire video. And if this video has been genuinely useful to you so far, a quick like helps enormously, because it tells the platform to show this information to other women who need to hear it just as much as you did. Alright, let's settle back in and keep going together, we've got real ground still to cover. Secret number 5. Using the wrong parting every single day. Here is the secret I promised you all the way back at the very start of this video, and true to what I said, It has absolutely nothing to do with any product sitting in your bathroom cabinet. It's simply about where your hair part actually sits on your scalp, something most of us decided on decades ago and never once reconsidered since. When you wear your part in the exact same place every single day, for months and even years on end without ever changing it, your scalp genuinely adapts to that repeated pattern over time. The hair surrounding that permanent, unchanging part gradually trains itself to lie flatter and flatter as the years pass, because it has been sitting in that identical position for so long it has essentially forgotten it's even capable of doing anything else. Hairdressers actually have a name for this. They sometimes call it a tired part, and it's remarkably common among women who have worn their hair the same basic way since their 20s or 30s. The fix here is refreshingly, almost surprisingly simple, and it costs absolutely nothing. Occasionally shift your part just slightly, even half an inch in a different direction than usual, particularly right before styling your hair for the day. You don't need to dramatically change your entire look or commit to a brand new part permanently, though some women do end up preferring the new position once they try it. This one small change interrupts that long-trained flatness and instantly creates the visual illusion of noticeably more volume, because hair that isn't accustomed to lying in one particular fixed direction naturally sits with quite a bit more lift and texture built right in, simply from the novelty of the new angle. It's such a tiny, almost invisible adjustment to make in your daily routine, but it might genuinely be the single easiest fix on this entire list to actually implement starting tomorrow morning, requiring no new products, no new tools, and no extra time at all. Secret number 6. Skipping product at the root. Many women apply their volumizing mousse or spray primarily through the mid-lengths and ends of their hair, treating the root area almost as an afterthought, or sometimes skipping it there entirely out of a genuine fear that product placed so close to the scalp will look greasy or heavy by midday. It's a completely understandable fear. Nobody wants oily-looking roots by lunchtime. But here's the important truth. The roots are actually exactly where your hair's overall volume truly begins or completely ends. Skipping this crucial area means you are essentially volumizing the one part of your hair that has the very least influence over how full and lifted your hair actually appears throughout the entire day. All the effort goes into the part of the hair that was never going to make the biggest visual difference anyway. Try applying just a small amount of lightweight volumizing product directly at the root while your hair is still slightly damp, focusing your attention specifically on the crown area, since that's the section most visible from the front and the section that most influences how full your whole head appears. A little truly does go a long way here. You genuinely don't need much, just enough to lightly coat the roots without saturating them. Then proceed to dry your hair as you normally would, ideally using the upside-down technique from secret number 3 for an even more pronounced combined effect. You'll notice the lift genuinely starts right where it matters most at the root and crown, rather than somewhere much further down the strand where it honestly barely registers to the eye at all no matter how much product you use there. Secret number 7. Choosing the wrong length for your hair type. This final secret is somewhat less about a daily habit and more about a bigger picture choice that quietly affects your volume every single day without you fully realizing it, because it's baked into the very shape of your haircut itself. Longer hair, simply due to its own natural weight and gravity, tends to pull itself flatter against the scalp over the course of a day, and fine hair, having noticeably less inherent strength and structure to resist that pull, has even less ability to fight back against it than thicker hair would. Many women continue keeping the exact same length they've worn comfortably for years, sometimes decades, without ever seriously reconsidering whether that particular length is actually still working with their current hair texture as it exists today, versus the hair they had when they first chose that length. A shoulder-length cut, or perhaps something with soft, well-placed layers built in specifically around the face and crown area, removes a meaningful amount of that pulling weight, and allows the remaining hair to sit with considerably more natural lift and movement throughout the entire day, simply because there's less overall weight dragging it downward. This certainly doesn't mean every single woman needs to rush out and cut her hair dramatically short, and plenty of women with fine hair do successfully keep longer lengths using the other 6 techniques we've covered today. But it might genuinely be worth having an honest, open conversation with your trusted stylist about whether your current length could be quietly working against the fullness and volume you've been trying so hard to achieve through everything else. Let's recap everything we've covered together today slowly and clearly, because I truly want this to stick with you long after this video ends, not just entertain you for half an hour and then fade from memory by tomorrow. Finish every shower with a genuinely cool rinse at the very end. Keep conditioner completely off your roots, applying it only from mid-length down toward your ends. Dry your roots upside down or tilted to the side before flipping back upright to finish the rest. Brush with real intention rather than out of mindless habit, and use your fingers instead for lifting texture back in afterward. Shift your part occasionally instead of keeping it permanently frozen in one single spot for years on end. Apply your volumizing product directly at the root and crown, not just through the ends where it matters least. And seriously consider when you're ready whether your current length is genuinely working with your natural hair texture, or quietly working against it every single day. None of these 7 changes require an expensive new routine, and none of them require a drawer full of brand new products you'd need to go out and buy. They simply require doing what you're already doing daily, just with a bit more awareness and intention behind each individual step. That really is the entire philosophy quietly running underneath this whole channel. Real elegance after 60 was genuinely never about doing more, spending more, or buying more. It has always been about doing the right small things consistently day after day, week after week, until they become as automatic as the habits that weren't serving you anymore. If this video gave you a genuinely fresh way to look at your own hair routine today, that is exactly why I make these videos in the first place every single week for women exactly like you. So before you go, please do me one more favor. Like this video so more women your age can discover it too, the same way you just did today. Drop a comment below telling me honestly which secret you're planning to try first thing tomorrow morning. I truly do read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, now truly is the perfect time to do so, because next week we're covering another quiet, everyday habit that's aging so many of us without our ever noticing it happening right there in the mirror. Thank you so much genuinely for spending this entire half hour with me today. I know your time is valuable, and I don't take it lightly that you chose to spend it here. Your hair, however fine, however full, however it currently sits on your head this very moment, is beautiful exactly as it is, and I will see you warmly in the very next one.